There's a few things I want to say about this. It seems mighty convenient, doesn't it, that this particular judge was assigned to the new Epstein case, and several days later, this travesty happens on her front doorstep. All right, everybody. Terrence Popp here with another episode of Life the Lair. And we're going to be going over this attack on that federal judge that took place. Apparently, an individual who's been identified as Roy Dan Hollander, who just so happens to be an MRA, anti-feminist, and an attorney, is the primary suspect in this attack. All right, now I'm going to be honest. I really don't have any sympathy for any bad things that befall judges. When I was going through my divorce, and shortly thereafter, I spent countless hours in divorce court. Each and every time, it was nothing but a one-sided steamrolling, and these individuals, mainly men, just got royally hogtied and horse-fucked by the judges. And quite frankly, I would really love to see BLM protesting and going, crazy about what's going on in family court, because maybe then we would see some change. Because on a side note, all of the bad shit that's befalling the black community is pretty much all tied to fatherlessness and lack of role models, which goes all the way back to the doorstep of family court. But that's another video. So I want to, her name was Judge Esther, Salas. Her 20-year-old son was shot in the heart and killed. And her husband was critically wounded, and from the wounds that I read about, chances are he's probably not going to make it. Whenever an individual north of 55, takes gunshot wounds along this, center line of the human body, you don't bounce back that quickly. I could be wrong. I hope I am, but it is what it is. I do feel bad for, the son who was killed. He was 20 years old. He didn't deserve that. And, that fucking sucks all the way around. I'm just going to say that now. I read the CNN, MSNBC, and 4 other articles in regards to this. And they're going down the same bad-mouthing of, MRAs and anti-feminists. Basically the usual suspect. They're all bad, blah, blah, blah. All right. Well, first of all, I'm an anti-feminist, and I'm an MRA and a red pill MGTOW guy. And, there is a monumental boatload of damage that takes place in family court to the children, and usually the fathers. And some guys who aren't the father who just get fingered to pay child support for 18 years. Or 16 years because they were fooled for 2 that... they were the father and they didn't, ask for a test in time, which is reprehensible. That's straight up fucking damage right there. So, expect more bad news and more bad mouthing and all the other horse shit for all the MRA guys out there and anti-feminist and even the red pill guys out there. Just get ready for it now. It's coming down the pipe. There's a few things I want to say about this. It seems mighty convenient, doesn't it, that this particular judge was assigned to the new Epstein case, and several days later, this travesty happens on her front doorstep. Let's see, the judge and suspect, they met a few times in the court, which is really not that much of a stretch, because he was an attorney and she was a judge. If you stay, if you're practicing in that area, sooner or later, you're going to go in front of the judge. It's the way it is. Okay, now I don't know any more of the details. I can't get my hands on that information yet, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to move over to the other board here.
In the midst of a culture war that's bringing out the ridiculous in everyone, it's never been more important to protect your data. Sandman, the patron saint of MGTOW dreams, wants you to know the best way to do that is with the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your data from the evil prigs in Silicon Valley. You only see ads if you want to, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Download Brave by clicking on the link in the description.
If he did do this, it should be no problem to basically follow it right back to his doorstep. But if it wasn't him and it was someone else and he was conveniently turned into a patsy, I have a list of questions here that probably should be looked into and answered. Now, on the news feed, there was a FedEx truck. He was in a FedEx uniform. Well, where the hell do you get a FedEx truck and uniform? I mean, you could probably make the uniform. I mean, I could. But coming across a FedEx truck that's duly marked, how does an attorney get his hands on that? Does he know somebody at the company? Where did the truck go? I mean, that's a big red flag right there. All right, number 2, paperwork on the gun. Did he buy the gun? Did he borrow the gun? Was it a member of his family's? Where was the gun made? I mean, usually that stuff is recorded. There's a paperwork trail, that leads back to where it was manufactured. If the gun was stolen, there's probably a stolen gun record. There's a lot of questions there. The ATF is really good at running down guns. They should be doing that. They're probably doing it right now. All right. Now, do the ballistics of the bullets recovered at the scene match the actual firearm recovered? I mean, that's a big question. Okay, it's pretty easy to, test that. Now, here's another one they could do here. Not only ballistics, but they can also, I'm sure they recovered some shell casings at the scene. Does the powder residue in the casings match the powder residue on the firearm? Because it's really hard to get the gunpowder residue completely off the firearm unless you have a dunk tank and you throw it in there, let it sit for a good 30 to 45 minutes, and then thoroughly clean it. Other than that, you're going to get residue in all the nooks and crannies of the firearm. And from what I hear, they found him. They basically found this guy relatively quickly. So cleaning the weapon in the dunk tank probably didn't happen. Okay, now you can also check the residence for any more firearms, any ammunition. If he bought the ammo and he bought 2 or 3 boxes, he trained with some of it and he took some of it to go do this, the rounds would match from the same lot. They would all have the same residue. Oh, is he storing the weapons in a storage locker somewhere, or was the weapon hidden somewhere? In that regard, I mean, these are big questions that, we should probably get answers to. Now, here's another thing most people don't know. If you handle a weapon or you handle anything, that the DNA tests are so sensitive, they can actually run DNA on the oil left behind by your hands or your skin. If you hand loaded the weapon, there's going to be DNA evidence on the shells. And does that match the DNA evidence on the weapon? Okay, DNA takes some time to come back, especially if there's very little and they have to magnify the sample, but it can be done. Feds do it all the time. Now, being the condition of the FBI and some of the shenanigans that's been going on there of late, not holding out a lot of hope that they're going to do that, or if they even give a fuck. All right, that's just my opinion. Okay, now, in our country, we have video cameras everywhere. All right, now this particular judge lived in a very good neighborhood. I looked at the neighborhood on Google Maps and cruised around to some of the major intersections leading into that neighborhood. And they all have traffic cams. All right. I believe the police department keeps that footage on file, depending upon the city, 6 months to a year, sometimes more. So there's video footage of the truck coming and going and so forth. And there would also be video coverage of this particular individual who's suspected of this killing, reconning the area, tailing the target, and pulling surveillance. All right, now this is a ritzy, neighborhood. You can't tell me that a lot of these places don't have cameras facing the street. All right, you cannot drive around in most places in this country and not be on camera in some shape or form. All right, now another thing that most of you don't know is, where was his cell phone? Did he have it with him when he did it? Was it in the vehicle? Did he leave it at home? Or, because they can actually check what cell tower was answering the pings for your phone, was his cell phone in one area of the city and he was talking on it while the crime was committed? Because now you have him in two different locations. That does happen. Now, another thing a lot of you guys don't know is they can triangulate the location of your cell phone in real time, and they can reconstruct where that phone was at any given time, 24/7, 365. That's important, because if he was murdering or attempting to murder a judge and got her son and critically wounded her husband, and his cell phone is moving around somewhere else, he's talking on it and so forth, then how could he be doing that and in this location at the same time? That's tough to do unless you have an accomplice. All right, now here we go. I already talked about the road traffic cameras, but maybe if this guy was driving around town, on or about the time this was going on, and he was somewhere else and he's on camera, all he really has to do is tell the police, I was driving here to here. He's going to show up on camera, and then you have him in two different places at the same time, which last time I checked, barring, divine intervention, you can't really do it. Sorry. Okay, even if it's not at the exact same time, if he's half a state away and the shit goes down and it's maybe, 50 minutes apart, how the fuck is he going to drive halfway across the street, do this shit, and it's just not going to work. I don't know. I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I just have questions here that I would like to see answered before we start crucifying people and calling people guilty. All right. Now, if he was intending to commit suicide, a lot of times they leave a note, an email. All right. And another thing, if he's not a professional criminal, he probably talked about it at some point or another. Did he mention this to anybody in his circle of friends? Because I have a feeling we're going to get he was such a quiet man and I just can't see him ever doing this. Yeah. All right. Now, I'm not saying the guy's innocent, and I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm just saying there's a whole boatload of questions that need to be asked and answered. And the reason I have all these questions is because I'm an evil fucking genius, and a lot of this stuff is covered in my two novels I have out now about a psychic who hunts and kills serial killers. So, does it make me a bad person? I don't know. Do I care? Certainly not. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Take it easy. Boom, I'm out.